I'd like to call the meeting of the Pasco County Metropolitan Planning Organization to order, please. Can we all stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the counts that we must one day give, be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have the roll call, please?
Councilman Smith, Mayor Maston, Mayor Hernandez. Here. Commissioner Oakley,
Here.
Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Starkey.
Here. Oh, sorry.
Oh, which one?
No,
Did she say commissioner?
she said commissioner, not council.
Okay. It doesn't matter. I just,
Commissioner Mariano,
Here.
no. I just can't see it on this side.
Chairman Jeff Starkey.
Here. Thank you. We'll now move into call for public input. If anyone from the public would like to address the board, now's the time to come up, please.
It's also a sign issue if everybody was
Seeing no one, we'll move on to approval of meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Now we will move on to committee reports. Citizens Advisory Committee?
Hello and good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Rob Serkiu. I'm the vice chair for the CAC committee. I'm representing Jose Cardenas, who's touring the world at the moment in Japan. So hopefully we look forward to his return. He sends his best wishes. Our meeting was held on Wednesday, April 3rd in Wesley Chapel. During the meeting, we approved previous meeting minutes from February unanimously. The action items that we also reviewed this month included the TIP amendment, intersection lighting, various locations. We recommended approval. The CAC alternate members appointment, we recommended the approval of those that you'll see today. We also had pretty good discussion on the existing list. Could use some updating. There are significant vacant seats as well as vacant alternate seats. Many have been vacant for a couple years. And we request that if there's anything we can do to try to help fill some of those vacancies to keep the input up. We also received a couple of members who turned in their resignation. One is a long-term member, Christy Zimmer, so we'll certainly miss her. But at the same time, hopefully we can find somebody to come in and replace with some fresh new ideas. The second or third one, the time extension for the MPO 18-029 modeling project, we recommended for approval as well. We received some updates and presentations on the LRTP, Resilient Tampa Bay, legislative agenda, PCPT, and congestion management. And then I also had a brief conversation with a CAC member from Hillsborough County, approached me and mentioned possibly having a joint meeting between the CACs, and I just bring that up to maybe get some feedback from you on thoughts and ideas on how that may happen, just to come together and express some ideas and see if we can't work together on some of those. Above that, it was one of the smoother and quicker moving meetings I've experienced in the 5 years or so I've been there, so it went along pretty well. But thank you for your time, service. Do you have any questions or feedback for me?
Well, I think that's a great idea to have a joint meeting,
Okay.
so I would encourage that.
And I'll bring that up at the next CAC meeting as well. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to BPAC.
Good morning, Randy Stovall, Chairman of BPAC. We had a great meeting in February, and I'm going to start off by praising Commissioner Catherine Starkey because we were told just before the meeting that she was named the Champion of the Year for the Florida Bicycle Association in the elected area, so that's fantastic. We were proud, of course. Not surprised, but proud. Just an interesting thing in the bicycle world. March is Florida Bicycle Month, and the city of Dade City was nice to issue a proclamation declaring that in Dade City for March. That's a wonderful thing. And next month, May, is National Bicycle Month. So it's a good time in the spring. People like to get out. The bicycle map that we've talked about in the past is making progress, I think. We saw some updates on it, and I know there was good discussion with BPAC members and our staff. And kind of related to that, one of our BPAC members, Mark Pinson, owns a computer consulting app type company. And so he has created the most wonderful prototype mapping program. It was amazing to us. He already has populated in it a number of the roads where people ride the most. And the idea would be, when he gets this kind of where we're all vetted, that people who ride would have their app on their phone, and it would tell them this is a good road or this has a bad place to avoid. And I think that's got a lot of potential. And he's just doing it because he likes to ride bicycles here in Pasco County. So that's got a lot of potential, working with the county staff and getting all the trails and paths that are accurate done. So very excited about that. We had a great meeting and discussion. The other thing that was kind of encouraging is we know that we all want to see projects built, but sometimes you have to have all the things in place before you can build them. You know, sometimes people could give you a pot of money, but you may not could use it for the thing that they gave it to you for, because you don't have the other things like right-of-way and things in place. So I know staff is working hard to better characterize the projects that they bring to you, so that we're able to build the things you prioritize if funding occurs. So that was very good. We got a little update from FDOT. At our November meeting, we were briefed on a grant called the Safe Routes to School grant. And there are 3 sidewalk projects. Has to do with children who would use these routes to get from their home to their school. And so there are 3 of those in the county that got submitted for building. And our friends at FDOT told us probably this summer they'll make their announcement whether they fund us or not. One of them's here in Dade City, and there's 2 on the other side. So that would be really good if we get that funded. I will tell you kind of a serendipity that things happen because of that project. One of the routes that didn't have right-of-way, so didn't meet eligibility, is a route down in Zephyr Hills, and it turns out the people who owned the piece of right-of-way that made it ineligible for this grant, the people are Duke Energy. And so the city went to Duke Energy and said, you know, you could help us here. And I would tell you, Duke has responded, and some parts of that they've already planted new landscaping, et cetera. And we're hoping that when they build a new substation, they'll add some more multi-purpose trail. So things kind of work together sometimes, and that was very encouraging. So that's my report.
Great report. I wish I had brought it with me today, but when I visit other areas, I collect their bike route maps.
Cool.
And so I have one, I don't even remember from what county it's from. But I would really like you guys to work with staff and maybe tourism as well, and start putting together a bike route map that we can print and hand out to people.
And that is in the works. And that's part of what I was referring to. So that's coming, and I will tell you that, of course, it depends on who the riders are. I'm more of the tourist type side, so because I work with the chambers and we have people coming in, and in Zephyr Hills particularly, one of the things we get a lot of questions for, do you have a bike trail map?
Right.
So I really want the printed thing, but the people who ride, like all the guys who come to the Northeast Pasco to ride the hills, they really want a digital map. That's why we're pursuing both of those.
Also, the Tourism Council had set aside some money for signs for wayfinding for the
Correct.
Coast to Coast Trail. I have no idea what's going on with that, but I can tell you the trail is under construction, and we think it's going to be done by late summer. And we're planning a humongous celebration with people from around the state, and it sure would be nice if we had some sort of map, trail identification signs up with some wayfinding on it. So I know it's
It
not
would
your
be-
department, but
Well, what I would tell you, when I inquired about that last, my understanding was the project, I'm not sure how many staff people ago it was in tourism, but I think the vision maybe is not there for that. The vision that I heard that got me very excited was to piggyback on the cross-state trail signage so that people who came from some other part of the state riding that new cross-Florida trail would recognize it. That was a great idea, but I don't know that that's happening. I hope it is, but.
And a wayfinding, design for the coast-to-coast trail.
Right.
But every county is responsible to put in their own.
Yes,
And so if we don't get going on it, we're not
Right.
gonna have anything.
right.
And, I'm pretty sure that money is sitting there in tourism. And, you know, people, that's one of the digs on our trail when that writer, when they announced the route, when he went and did it, he said, riding through Pasco County, there's no signs
Nothing at
of
all.
anything, anywhere to go. Of course, no restrooms.
So perhaps we can invite somebody from tourism to the next BPAC, and we
Yeah,
can
so-
at least talk about it together.
Somebody, the administration has to put someone in charge of this and get it going.
Right.
So I don't know if it's MPO, tourism, Parks and Recs,
Right.
but somebody has to do it.
Mayor Hernandez.
Just a comment, I serve on the TDC, that is, I think the constant there is Consuelo. I know we've had a lot of changes, there
Right.
is a one constant there that I think is aware of what, and you're right.
Yes.
One of the things that we were promised when we didn't get a portion of the CDC was that we were going to get signage, I mean, not only for bathrooms, but also indicating to here. So there's a
Yeah.
meeting next Wednesday, so I
Okay.
will bring it up again. And
Good.
the other thing, you brought that up, and something we've suggested is that MPO and TDC do, tourism and transportation do have a representative, you know, kind of back and forth at those meetings. So there is it's a pretty big part of both of our meetings, especially with the trails and then as tourism as we continue to move forward. So we haven't really fulfilled that piece of that, so we should do that as well as looking. But I can get back and report on the signage next time. as well
Yeah,
as
that's,
reach out to
would it be helpful if I were to come to your TDC?
Next
I'll
Wednesday,
try
I'll
to
find
do
out,
it.
I'll
Just let me
communicate with
know,
you and let
yeah.
you know where it's
Okay.
at. And yeah, I think we need to,
Okay.
you're right, there's just been good changes, but no
Sure.
continuity, so we need to move that forward.
All right, sounds good.
Commissioner
Has
Oakland?
has a sign already been printed or anything of what we want? For all of the trails for
Oh,
Pasco?
no,
No design.
we do
or
not
anything?
have a trails map, right?
We have a draft map.
Yeah, we probably ought to
That
have
was
something
fine.
like that put together that we
Yeah.
can hand out to the public so they know
Right.
where to go. So-
I'd
Right,
like to be able to
right.
hand it out at the ribbon cutting of the coast to coast. I
And we
mean,
need
that
to
should be our
also-
target date.
We also need some kind of a sign that shows that that's the trails and, I mean,
Right.
it's uniform all over the county, so you can see
Correct.
that sign, then you know where
That's-
it's close to or.
And that
you
was
can go.
part of what I understood was part, again, we
Right.
just have to, so we'll follow through
Right.
and make sure again and go to who I think can answer that or point us, and if Dr. Stovall can come next week to
Okay.
our other meeting, then there'll be,
Okay.
we can have some
Sure.
overlap there to get that
Yeah.
moving. And if you know, when you know the date of that, let us see.
Yeah, we don't have a fixed date yet,
Okay.
but we've been,
I'll try to
we've
come if
told
I
the
can.
Okay, so I'll
contractor.
get with you, Dr.
Okay,
Stovall.
all right,
Okay.
very good,
Yeah,
thank
the
you.
contractor on the coast to coast is not being given any extension time. So they're gonna have to start a 24-hour thing because they delayed. Also, you should know that, they already did. The Parks Department did, put something out to hire a trails planner. It's a parks planner and a trails planner, and
good.
I know they got a lot of names in.
Good.
And they're interviewing people for that position that will work with,
Yeah,
um,
with Ross
Ross
and BPAC, and yeah,
and
that'd
the
be great.
BPAC. Yeah.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stovall.
Okay.
We'll move along to action items. We have a tip amendment, intersection lighting at various locations. Manny?
Right, so this is an amendment to our existing 2018-19 TIP for upgrading lighting at various intersections. About 30 on US 19, 1 on alternate 19, and 3 on 54 up to Rowan. Basically, this is a safety project, so at the request of DOT, we're bringing it in before the NPO for approval. So this is also a public hearing, and it requires that you ask for public comments, if any.
Are there any comments from the public on this?
Comments from me?
Commissioner Starkey?
I really want to see some lighting on Trouble Creek. I keep asking and asking, so it's just one or two, but you go from lightness by the private sector on their own lightings, like maybe a church or something, into total blackness. And
So
then,
Trouble Creek is one of the intersections they will upgrade.
well, it's not the intersection, it's the route. Someone needs
Right,
to
so
drive
these
the
are
route.
just basically at intersections.
I'm not sure what that's where the need is, that someone has to drive it and analyze it, but I drive it almost every day, and I know people who are avoiding it because of the dangerousness of it. It needs to be looked at.
It's the same thing on Rowan Road, south of 54 as well. There's absolutely no street lighting.
Yeah, it
between
gets dark.
intersections.
But on Trouble Creek, there are a lot of people using that sidewalk, and they're walking in total darkness. I would say the same for Starkey Boulevard and the trail along Starkey. People are out there running in pitch black with little light reflector things on.
Yeah.
And May, this is funded wholly by FDOT, right?
Yeah, this is all funded, it's under design right now, it's almost done with design. And they're having this funding for construction in fall of this year or spring of 2020.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Mariano?
In getting certain streetlight districts done, I think I went to utilities, they looked at, put a plan together, and then there was some type of cost that was paid by people along the road to make it go. That's probably the way to get that done.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. So that passes. We'll move on to CAC alternate member appointment. Randy?
Right, as we are trying to fill all the vacancies, Commissioner Moore has introduced Mr. Christopher Poole to be an alternate to his primary member, Rob Cirque, that presented CAC report this morning. So we're bringing it before the MPO for approval.
Any comments or questions?
Do you need a motion?
Need a motion now?
Right, I need approval by the MPO board that
Move to approve?
Second?
Can I just ask a question? So who are these, are there new names in here? Because I'm looking at this list and I'm trying to figure
So
out
we are
who is new.
trying to clean up the listing, and we've already put Christopher Poole in there for Commissioner Moore's District 2.
Okay, because Commissioner Oakley has,
Yeah.
so anyway, I know there's an
I haven't
interest
found
in-
anyone. Do you have someone?
Well, no, I wasn't, I knew that was your, but I
Right.
will be happy to, I can,
Yeah.
You
You'll
send the
introduce me to
names over
someone?
to-
I'd like to
Well,
find a person.
we've approached Commissioner Oakley, and he's working on providing some names to
okay.
us.
Okay.
But I think,
Yeah.
so that's perfect. All right, sorry, I just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
because I knew that's an important committee, want to make sure we have those attended.
Excuse me, did somebody make a motion in a second on the
I don't,
action A?
I don't think we did.
No, we
that
just
was
voted.
my apologies. We just voted.
No, we
So
didn't.
let's go back. Can we go back to tip
On
tip
A, I'll
amendment?
make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor on the tip amendment?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just thinking that right when you said it.
And now we have a motion and a second on this other one.
Yes, and now we have a motion and a second for a CAC alternate member. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes as well. So we'll move on to time extension for MPO 18-029 modeling project.
Yes, so this item is requesting an extension to the existing modeling. So modeling's kind of a tricky thing, but basically we're doing it through a county effort for our new Vision Road and right-of-way, but they're also trying to coordinate it with our long-range transportation plan, which will be approved in December. So they just wanted a little more time to stretch that out so that the two could work in parallel. There's no additional funding, it's just a 6-month extension from March until October. And this is with Tyndale Oliver, one of our general planning consultants. So we ask for your approval and support.
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes as well. We'll move on to Pasco County Public Transportation Report updates.
Do we have
They had a volunteer away early this morning.
No, they weren't there, I was there.
Oh, they weren't there?
Do we have a quorum?
Yeah, we have a quorum,
Aye.
5 of us.
Budget.
Thank you for being here.
Barely.
Barely. Good morning, all. Kurt Scheibel, Pasco County Public Transportation Director. A lot of big things are starting to happen now at Pasco County. We're right now in negotiations for a contract, I'll be to the board here in just a little bit, for a marketing campaign to refresh what we're doing and get our name out there a little bit more for people. So we're looking at that, and the I think the recommendation is a good one, and we'll move forward with them, but you should be seeing that relatively soon. Also, we're working heavily on the Shady Hills project. Right now, we're kind of in hold mode because we're in a Florida consortium for purchasing buses. And I got to wait until that is actually awarded before I can purchase buses off of it. It was supposed to have been awarded like 2 months ago, and they're still in negotiations with the folks. So we're waiting for that to happen. But if everything goes well, I'm hoping we get Shady Hills up and running by March of next year. Knocking on wood on that one, because I really think we can get that happening at that time. The other thing we're working on is we got some requests for how old can we have children riding on our buses, and we've worked through all that. But one of the things that brought up is, as you will know, or may not know, is that when a runaway first initially tries to escape a situation that's not good in their family life or where they're at, they go on public transportation to get away. And so we were looking at, I don't know if you're familiar with the Safe Place a program that is out there for those kids, so they can get to a safe place and then get help through either Department of Family and Children and all those other places. There's a big program down at Hillsborough, and we're going to start one up here where we can get a child and put on a sign is, if you're running away from a bad situation, talk to the bus driver. And then the bus driver will get them to where they need to go. Places like a fire department, library, could even be one of the senior centers or someplace where the county employees or someone is there that can provide a safe place for this child. And then we can get them the help they need so they can escape those situations before they really get into trouble in somewhere where they can never escape from. And the other program we're running along with that is the human trafficking portion. I don't know if you've noticed on the news, I just saw it just this morning. I guess there was some more human trafficking up in Minnesota or something like that. But what we're doing is we're actually going to get our bus drivers trained to recognize the human trafficking issues. We're working with the state and various other organizations and train them on how to recognize that. And then hopefully, again, another sign on the bus, if you need to, talk to the bus driver and they might be able to help you out. Because people that are in those situations, they also ride transit a lot. So that's ways that we're hoping that we can help some folks and get them into a better situation than they are now. Beyond that, that's keeping us quite busy. So if, let's see, on Mile Stretch Road, the shelter there, there's been some incidents lately. We're going to be working with the sheriff. They may reach your ears to get stronger police presence there. So I'll be working with that there. There was an incident yesterday. My team went out there.
What do you mean by incident?
There was a fist fight, I believe, some type of altercation that got violent.
Were they loitering in this?
We don't
Or were they
know. The bus rolled up, saw it, called it in, sheriff, but there was another gentleman there who was waiting on the bus, and he felt unsafe, and so we kind of stayed around that area and helped. But we're going to be reaching out to the sheriff's department and making sure that our customers are safe.
On the west side of 19, you're talking that stop right there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's constant loitering there.
There is
Yeah.
a constant
place.
loitering there, and we're going to see if we can get the sheriff and maybe even Fort Ritchie or whoever else we can get out there, more frequent drive-bys, and if there's someone there, get them out of the way. And I've received a couple complaints just like yesterday too, from those type of things, customer cards coming in. We're going to make sure that our customers are safe and make sure that's taken care of.
Chairman, sorry. Kurt, you were talking about the bus driver would have that information for a safe zone for kids. Are they going to go through some special training
Yes,
to
sir.
be able to do that?
Yes, sir.
I sit on the Human Trafficking Commission for the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, and they've done a lot of good work in our county to locate and find people that need to be taken care of. I've had 4 or 5 different instances throughout the county that I've noticed an issue with, and thank goodness every time I've gone to a sheriff's deputy or the sheriff himself, they've been right on top of those issues ahead of me. And it's really good, and if you're in your county and you want to be safe, it's good to know that every time you see something that looks like it's not right, that the sheriff's department's already been looking at it, and I mean, there's surveillance and everything,
We're working-
and have taken care of it,
Yeah.
which that's good to know in our county. Sheriff you know, they provide safety for us, and that's a great thing, so.
Yes, and we want to join that team, and that's
Yeah.
what we're looking at doing, and
Yeah.
getting our drivers up to speed on that, and making sure that they're just aware of it. I
Right.
went through a lot of that when I was in the military, some of the training there. We're going to bring some of that training into our places too.
Right. Well, it'd be good if maybe some of those drivers, if they had time, or could come to the human trafficking
Rose will be starting.
commission when we meet over at Land
Ro-
Lakes.
Rosemary Bruckner, she's going to start
Yeah.
going to some of those meetings as her schedule allows.
Yeah.
So she'll be going there.
Okay, that'd be good, yeah. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Mariano?
Thank you. And I'm glad to see you want to put those signs inside the buses as well. They'll be, I think, very effective. for
I'm sorry,
people.
sir?
I think the signs in the buses are a great idea.
Yes, sir.
Whatever type of resource you need to go, I'm sure you can get that done. Should be a great project. Thanks.
Yes, sir. We just want to make sure we got the wording correct, because we don't want to, there's usually a handler that travels with these folks, and want to make sure that they have a way of doing it that does put them in a situation that they are afraid to do it because of retaliation.
Right. But that training will help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the long-range transportation plan status update with Wally Blaine. Mr. Blaine?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. Wally Blaine with Tyndale Oliver. Just a quick update on the long-range transportation plan. Last month, came and talked to you about the performance measures and the weighting of the criteria for the projects. Just a quick reminder that you did approve those weights last time. We've been working with staff on the actual criteria that'll be used under those measures for evaluating the projects in the long-range transportation plan. But when we look at the schedule, kind of as we're moving through this, just kind of wanted to give you an update where we are today, talking about specifically today, the revenues, and one piece of those revenues is scenarios that we would look at moving forward. Just as we look at the schedule, I want to give you a heads up. Next month, our goal is to have a draft of the transportation needs for you to look at and review as we work through kind of getting into the next couple of months with some public outreach, some workshops and some meetings. So we'll want to have your input on those needs as we move into the public involvement process for that. So when we look at, I think the next thing is the actual revenues table. What we've done is kind of taken a look back at the 2040 long-range transportation plan. And one of the assumptions that was in the plan at the time, remember the plan was adopted 5 years ago back in 2014, was a discussion about would there be a new penny for transportation. It would fall under the Charter County Regional Transportation System surtax. And so I know the county has gone through a study of having a charter. One of the things that was changed in the legislation for that is that counties that are part of a regional transportation organization like TBARTA would qualify for this without having a county charter. So there's been discussions with staff about what the feasibility of this might be. Is there a practical reason to continue forward with that assumption moving forward? So when you look at this table, scenario 5 is kind of the continuation of what that assumption was from the 2040 plan. And that assumption was that the current penny for Pasco, which is due to sunset in 2024, would still have a portion of that revenue committed to transportation through 2024. But in 2025, there may be a new referendum that would come out under what was under that Charter County Regional Transportation System surtax, that mouthful. And that full penny would be devoted to transportation. And there were assumptions about how that got split between different modes, either the highways or the transit projects of the plan. But since the plan's adoption, there's been discussion with county staff about what is practical and feasible to move forward with. Are we suggesting that that is a repeal or not an extension of the penny for Pasco? What would happen for that? And so kind of the discussion was from the MPO's perspective and the long-range transportation plan, that this would be new money that would come to transportation. And if there was still the penny for Pasco surtax as well, that maybe that would be renegotiated and that 18% that was going to transportation would go back to other county and municipal services as well. So what we've done in kind of looking at the practicality of that is developed some scenarios of what that may look like. And so these 5 scenarios kind of lay out if there is another extension of the penny for Pasco, and so that would extend through 2034, what would that revenue look like? If it is at 2024, and then there would be a new penny that would come in 2025 under the Charter County Regional Transportation System surtax, what would that look like? So under both of those cases, either in 2025 or 2035, where we're looking at a new or a change in the revenue stream, are we at a half penny or a full penny? So that's really the basis of these 5 scenarios. We kind of looked at that. We also talked to the county administration. There's some new legislation that's pending up in Tallahassee right now, both through the House and the Senate, that would look at changing the requirements of passing any new local sales tax. So both the renewal of the penny for Pasco or a new Charter County Regional Transportation System surtax under this proposed legislation would require a 2/3 majority vote, not a simple majority vote, to pass of the local voters. The penny for Pasco last time passed with a 70% majority, so there is some history that residents of Pasco are willing to have that additional levy for the needs of municipal service and countywide needs. But we have discussed what would that look like if there was no extension or no monies that would continue in either of these streams beyond 2024. And ultimately what that comes and says is there would be none of these revenues that are discussed here as scenarios would be available, so it would be zero. It would be available. What we're asking today is that kind of to get your feedback and input on these scenarios. Is there a fatal flaw from your opinion in one of these? Is there something else we need to consider in one of these? The goal with this is to take this as a target combined with the other revenue sources that are available. And again, we're working with the county budget office on some different assumptions and what those revenues look like through 2045. But if we combine those together with one of these scenarios, how much do we have and how far down that list of priority projects do we think we could get by 2045? Our goal at the June meeting, after we've brought the needs back to you and discussed that in May, our goal at the June meeting would be to bring you back a prioritized list of needs and kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. Because scenario 5, again, the same assumption that was built in the 2045 plan results in the most amount of revenues, our goal would be to take that revenue scenario, because that'll get us the furthest down the priority list. And we can set markers on where these other scenarios would get us, but that would be our goal to move forward. So there certainly is not an approval or a recommendation of a scenario today, but kind of are we going in the right direction? And our course of action is to kind of see how far down that priority list we think we could get as then we move into the summer and the fall with the cost feasible plan.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Starkey?
So the county doesn't get the whole penny. We get 40 cents of that, 40%. The school district gets the other 40% and the cities get 10. So I don't know how we can
20?
sit, whatever. That math. I mean, so we don't get the whole penny. And so are we suggesting that the school district doesn't need any money, or they go off on their own and we try and get a penny just for transportation and nix economic development and nix the parks and the trails? I don't want to nix that. I mean, I may want to play with the percentages, and maybe ELAMP doesn't need as much as they're getting now, but I think the other things that we do with that money are very important. So I guess I need to see how far we get with what we've got.
Yeah.
On the trajectory we are right now with the dollars we have right now.
Okay. Yeah, and a great point. I think what we've assumed is out of the current penny, because of the way it's divided up, about 18% of that actually goes to transportation specifically.
Plus the 1/3 of our new revenue goes to transportation, whatever you want to call that.
Right, you've got the mobility fees, you've got the tax
Right.
increment financing, other revenue streams. This would be specifically just that 18% of the penny. What we would be saying just from the transportation side, because there are those other services and agencies that are providing for the residents of the county, that we wouldn't be speaking to that. That would be, we want to make sure we're coordinating those decisions, but we wouldn't be speaking as far as this. What we would say is that either in 2025 or 2035, that none of the revenues from the penny for Pasco, if it was continued on, would come to transportation, that it would be replaced with a higher amount from the Charter County Transportation Surtax under these scenarios.
So an additional penny?
So there would be either a half penny or a penny, yes. Because like you're saying, the current penny for Pasco that's out there is allocated to other services, that 18% right now that's coming to transportation could stay within that penny, and then you would have more money that could either go to schools or to ELAP or the other programs that you've mentioned that are currently funded out of that penny.
I think it's, a lot of it is in how you present it to us. and show the need and show what it gets us. If we, let's say, added another half cent, we need to know why we need to do that.
That's a good
This,
point.
you know, there's not enough
Yeah.
information here for me to say why.
Right. And that would be our goal at June,
Yeah.
is to give you that additional information. We wanted to kind of introduce you to this first, rather than just hitting you with all of it at once. Give you some time to process through that. Give us this feedback like you're providing today. And then when we come back in June, be able to work through what that need looks like and what does it get you.
Commissioner Mariano.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Starkey is on with these points that are made, especially with the ELINT money. I don't know how much ELINT money we spent. I don't think we spent all from the first penny, and not even the second penny yet. So as we get a little bit further down the line, that'll kind of show a lot of that money could go right to transportation. As far as the looking at what the legislature's going to do coming up right now, if they're talking about going to 70%, it's going to be almost impossible to get anything passed unless you get a really solid reason to go do it. And right now, the way Hillsboro's kind of like isolating themselves with what they're going to do until they extend up with us one way or the other, I don't know if it's going to merit that. So I don't know if June is the right time to go do it. I think maybe we should talk about it in June and then kind of figure out, all right, where are we really standing? And planning on us to go to Charter County, I don't think that's a prudent way to look at it as well.
And keep in mind, the county would not have to adopt a charter in order to
Right.
levy this because Pasco is part of T-BART.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they did change the legislation to make that a feasible and practical option, or let me say a possible option. I don't know if it's feasible and practical, I don't want to say that. Because of our timeline for the LRTP, we do need to be looking at how we will fund the projects over the summer and be able to work into a cost feasible list to bring that back to you for adoption as John mentioned earlier in December. So if it's your, I mean, I guess it's the guidance that I'm looking from you today is, should we, with all these factors about the revenues, should we consider that? Or how should we kind of approach looking at the revenues that would be available to fund transportation?
Mr. Chairman, follow up. If we're going to look at this as well, this is money we're going to be putting in. Are we counting that FDOT is going to be matching the money we're putting in, or is this going to be money we're putting in to pay for these projects?
Yeah, DOT provides each of the MPOs a revenue forecast of available state and federal dollars that come through the DOT's work program, as well as estimates of the federal surface transportation programs that the MPO has allocated through 2045. Those are added to this as well. And we're also coordinating with the county's budget office on what revenues can be expected through the mobility fee program, as well as the transportation impact fee, or I always mess it up, it's TIF, but it's the tax increment financing revenues, sorry. What other revenues are available as well? And we just don't have that finalized to present to you today.
But my question is, I want to make sure the DOT is with us. If we're going to go put more money into it, I want them to go put more money into it. I don't want to just be putting our money in and then we're just funding something and someone else, some other county's not doing what we're doing, is benefiting.
Yeah, there are certainly state programs that are available and they're not allocated to a specific district or a specific MPO or county that become available based on the local revenues that are there, yes.
Similar to Swift-Mud Cooperative Funding Program, right?
Something like that, yeah.
We
I want to
know
make sure.
what we're gonna, if we put this much in, we can expect that much to partner with
Exactly.
us, yeah.
I don't-
And you know, whenever I looked at my Swift-Mud book, when I was on the PA Basin Board, we went through a process and ranked the projects, and then knew if we were at this millage, this is kind of like what we do. This is what you can get, and if you're at this millage, this is what you can get. You know, I need some context to see what are our most important projects and what do we need to get there in a certain timeline with the commitment from DOT and, you know, and others. So June will be an important meeting.
Yes.
Hopefully our other commissioners will be here.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Blaine.
All right, you're welcome, thank you.
We didn't give you much.
Oh, you're good.
Move on to the legislative agenda update with John.
Yeah, before I do that, there is an item that we just included as informational. We didn't agendize it, but it was about the resiliency study. So we will be coming at a future date. That is something in cooperation with Hillsborough and Pinellas. What we're trying to do is determine with the threat of potential sea level rises, and if we have any kind of significant flooding due to rain or hurricanes, we're trying to look at critical infrastructure and how we can plan or prepare for saving that critical infrastructure for evacuation and whatnot. So we have 19 and 54 as part of the study. You just have a flyer, but once the study is complete, they will come. They're doing some modeling to show where the flooding would occur and what kind of flooding would occur and where. So it's kind of daunting, but it's interesting stuff, and it will help us prepare in future for where we need to put some capital investments to make sure that that critical infrastructure is deemed appropriate for any kind of incident. So for the legislative, we had asked Ralph Flair to be in attendance, but unfortunately he couldn't come. He's still in Tallahassee, but he would come next month just to give an update. We didn't have too many MPO things. We've given you the MPO charter through the MPOAC. The big one was texting, which looks like it's going to be approved, and that was one of our higher priorities. This gets revisited by the MPOAC every few years, so that will be updated. But certainly if there's county bills and issues, I'm sure he will present to you. But if you would like him to come, he would be happy to give you an update on anything happening related to this session in the MPO.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
No, but I have a comment on the June date. I'm going to be in Orlando at FAC. Are you going to be at FAC?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
let's
that's,
get an MPO meeting during that?
we have an MPO meeting during our FAC
Yeah,
meeting.
we need to change that.
We need to change that date, yeah.
Okay, we're happy to do so. I guess we'll just check all your calendars.
The June 13th, I think it is. Can you move it the week before? Maybe?
That's a TMA meeting, I think. Oh, that week is a TMA meeting.
That's Friday, that would be on a
TMA is
Friday.
the 7th.
It would be maybe June 6th?
How about the week after?
Okay, we'll just follow up with everybody's calendars
be here the
immediately and
weekend.
make sure you're all available.
Well, let me see. June, nope, I won't be here on the 20th.
Oh, the 27th?
No, I can only do the week before. June 27th.
So June 11 or 12, 11 or 12?
Let's see, the fax starts, I think it starts on Tuesday, but later in the day. So Tuesday in the daytime would be okay.
So would you like us to send out a doodle or something of that nature, just to
When
see
will this be?
where you all might have?
Tuesday, June 11th, we don't have a board meeting that day. You can't do that Tuesday?
I'm checking it.
Oh.
I like the idea.
Mine's
Yeah.
clear. on the
And then
11th.
go over to Orlando from here.
June 11th, mine's
Yeah.
open.
And that's up to the cities. If that works for the county, that's great, but
Hey, can you just send an email out and I'll check? I'm going to be out of the
We'll do
country
that.
the end of May for a soccer tournament. We're going to Columbia and taking some kids there, but I'm not sure. I thought I had my calendar. I don't, what day we get back. I think we'll be back by then. If you just send a follow-up email, I'll let you know for
We'll
sure. If
do
not,
that
I'm sure
with a
Lance or
couple
something run the
options.
meeting.
You gotta check.
That day's good. Tuesday.
I'm okay on the 11th.
Me too.
Ooh, I'm glad I looked.
okay. Yes, thank you.
All right, go on to meetings held and scheduled. We had a TMA leadership group meeting on April 5th. Was anyone there to want to report anything?
I was there. I don't know, John, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so the TMA is basically a committee of Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, and so usually there's 3 reps from each county, and they meet usually quarterly. So what we predominantly presented was the BRT and Central Avenue down in St. Petersburg. And then we had a discussion of the MPO collaboration study, which was presented to you a few months ago. So we went over the recommendations. There was 8 or 10 short-term recommendations that were provided, one of which was meeting jointly with Hillsborough CAC. So we essentially just went over the pros and cons. In a lot of cases, we're doing a lot of the things that were suggested. They're not suggesting a merger. They're not suggesting that we do anything. But I think intuitively we all agreed that we should move forward with some things. And so that would be one of the first things, meeting jointly with CAC. One of them is the modeling effort, which is done by FDOT. We would like them to continue to do it because it's not something we necessarily want to start housing in-house. So I think that was the crux of it. We'll be happy to send you the PowerPoint that we provided to them at the meeting. And we got essentially good feedback. I think we all want to work more collectively and more collaboratively. There's still a little pushback from Hillsborough on a couple of items, but I think essentially they see the benefit of us continuing to meet. There's some discussion of maybe moving the TMA back to the CCC and maybe having the Chairs Coordinating Committee meet more often and the TMA less, so they're kind of going back and forth with that potential idea since the CCC covers all 8 counties of Tabarda, but that remains to be seen, so.
If I could a little bit, I thought the summary come down as far as the 3 counties of Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas, where should be the core as far as to what's going to happen as far as big decisions. And that should stay the way it is. I thought the relationship that I said the relationship the 3 counties have is great. The FDOT is working very well with us. It may be different from what they want, but I think we can push back to say, you know what, this is working well for us. Let's keep this going. I think there's pretty good consensus to that. As far as the CCC, we're looking at it. I think it's good to meet maybe once a year as well. I think we talked about that might be a good thing to bring everybody together to get the whole group, but I don't see quarterly meetings needed for that. All in all, it was, I thought, pretty positive. I know it got a little contested maybe the previous time, but this was much more pleasant, you might say, across the board.
Good.
And Commissioner Jack told Secretary Gwynn that he was the best secretary on the planet.
He is a great secretary.
So they all had a little chuckle about that. So. But we will, if I could indulge you for a moment, we will tell you that we are hosting the next CCC meeting on July 19th, and we're planning to have it at the arena, hockey arena, because it's off 75. And one of our presentations will be from Connected Cities, because that's coming from all 8 counties, and they're quite interested in our Connected Cities. But if you have any topics that you would like to share in that platform, we'd be happy to take them on board. They kind of have an agenda, but it's usually an opportunity for the county that's presenting to kind of show something off. When we went to Sarasota, we were on the 10th floor of their new rowing facility, so it's just an opportunity. We wanted to take them to the lagoon, but there's no real facility to host a meeting, so that was, the idea was maybe the rink. So anyways, if you have ideas or anything you want to put on the agenda, we're happy to entertain.
What time is that on the 19th?
It's usually 11 till 1 or 2 with lunch, because they're coming from distances. But the next TMA meeting is June 7th, and we are hosting it, and it will be at our Newport Richey facility. And so we ask either Catherine or Jack if you would like to be the chair. It's our opportunity to control the agenda.
Now, was it going to be Newport Richey, or was it going to be, I thought it said Land O'Lakes?
Initially it was, but that facility isn't available. They have it used sometime in the morning, and so we didn't want to take the chance that it wouldn't be available. And the other issue is with the TMA, they like it streamed, and we're hooked up for streaming here and hooked up for streaming at Newport Richey. If we go to an outside facility, the cost is quite exorbitant. So yes, Land O'Lakes was a better location, but it's mostly Pinellas and Hillsborough that would have to come a little further.
Would it be possible to have it here?
We could have it at either location, hasn't been locked in yet,
Okay.
but either facility works because of the streaming, so.
It's my wife's birthday, I got family in town, so I'm going to be there for the meeting, but I'll be closer to here than there, but I'm good either way.
Okay,
Okay.
so let us know, we're happy to change it.
John, real quick while you're up there, going back, what date did you say for the June meeting?
It is June 7th, a Friday.
No, not this one,
July 19th,
the MPO meeting that we're trying to reschedule.
MPO, I think June 11th was.
Yeah, I will be
June.
back, so I can attend that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while you're there, real quick, do you have any comments on the MPO AC Weekend Institute for elected officials coming up on May 31st to June 2nd? Is anyone going?
Yes, so we know some members, Commissioner Mariano, I think Commissioner Starkey,
And I'm going to try
and
Oh, great.
so 3 are going, and that's great. And maybe they can give us an update. Staff can't go, we'd like to go just so that we could provide a overview, but maybe if you could take some good notes and share with us what you learned, that would be great.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or anything for the board? No?
No.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
So adjourn.
Well, actually, before you adjourn, we just wanted to announce that Mr. Ali
Oh, yeah,
Tefi,
that's
after
right.
30-plus
Let's say
years,
goodbye
will
to
be
Ali.
leaving.
Is this your last meeting?
If he could come and say a few words.
Yes.
Yes, come forward.
I got caught by surprise. I'm not prepared for a speech, but just very briefly, enjoyed the last 31 and some years, and just want to thank the Pasco County, the board, prior administration, current administration, and was great. Also thank the staff for working with me as a team all these years, and just thank you very much and good luck to you. You guys are very, most engaged board I've ever seen for the last 31 years, and keep up the good work. And
Well,
by the
don't
way,
get too-
I
Don't
feel
get too
like I
far away,
still.
we need some help around here. So.
Will you be my alternate on the CAC? I need an
Well,
alternate.
actually, I was
I
gonna
think we got
say-
that covered, so.
No, I need
Thank
an
you.
alternate. I'll take it.
I was going to say, actually, I still feel like I still have few years left for me to work as an independent consultant, so I'm going to test the water and see what happens.
Well, I
Very
loved
good.
your comments that you sent out, so.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Appreciate
Commissioner
that.
Mariano?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I'd like to do a resolution for him at the county commission meeting coming up.
Yeah.
But Al, you've been great to work with every step of the way, always listening to everything we say and kind of digging in and get more information for us every single time, so greatly appreciate it. You've had a great career, so we thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.
And one more thing, if I could.
Yes.
I'd like to congratulate Councilman Starkey on winning
Thank
the
you.
election, and also
Mr.
Councilman Smith
Smith
as
as
well.
well.
So I think we're going to be well represented for another few years, which is great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, good.
All right, meeting adjourned then.
Good, I got